This press conference with Sam Bush was at MerleFest 2013 when I was interviewing for Cool Kids in a Radio Show, and I had to ask. This was the year following Doc Watson's death and a few days following both George Jones and Richie Havens' death. I hope you enjoy it and see why I had to ask.
I'm Olivia Freeman from Cool Kids in the Radio.
Alrighty.
I know you were friends with Doc. Can you tell me a funny story about him?
A funny story about Doc. Well, I will have to tell on myself if I tell the funny. What a nice guy he was, and what a gracious person he was. Out in Northern California, like at the edge of Yosemite Park, there's a festival called the Strawberry Music Festival. Years ago, I was sitting in, our band Newgrass Revival was there, but I was also sitting in with Doc and Merle and Michael. And when I was a boy, I played with a blind guitar player. His name was Gib Cassidy. And lo and behold, he and Doc, they liked to be led the same way, where Doc would take the inside of my right arm, for instance, and he's kind of like one step behind you. And so that way, if you stop, he knows to stop. If he feels you stepping up, we're going up steps or down steps. So so due to the fact that we discovered that I knew how to lead Doc the way he liked to be led already, it was kind of an honored position for me to be in that role of getting to lead Doc. And so we're walking on stage, and somehow I missed the top step, and I stumbled down, and Doc did not stumble down as badly as I did, but I mean, I was mortified that I was, almost made Doc Watson stumble, and I'm so apologetic. Doc, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He goes, "Oh, Sam, you know I pushed you." So he was a gracious man.
Does playing this year have a special meaning for you? Kind of an obvious question.
Well, when I got here yesterday, I was feeling the absence of Doc, and I'm in the position. I'm kind of like the Ed Sullivan of tonight's jam session. I'll be the MC, so to speak. And we had a rehearsal yesterday, and it is going to be a little emotional. I miss him, and I knew last year we might not get to play together anymore. So this year, I always miss Merle when I'm here. So this year we don't have Doc and Rosalie have both passed away. So that's it. Yes, it is it's kind of semi-emotional. I am right now, and I miss him, and but thanks to Doc Watson, we're all here right now. So that being said, it's a great thing, and a tribute to Doc, Rosalie, and Merle that we all want to be here.
Well, Sam, now with all those losses that we've suffered, we are looking to you and some of the originals as the future. So we're wondering what do we have to come here at MerleFest in the next few years? We know it's going to go strong, but we're really looking to you to see what's going to happen and how this is going to progress in the future.
Boy, are you a misguided soul. Well, the great thing about MerleFest is that it's never been about one type of music. In other words, don't call it a bluegrass festival or a country music festival or rock and roll, and that's kind of one of the things Doc was always so great about. He never put a label on his music other than good old country pick, and people would call Doc the greatest bluegrass guitar player that ever played, and in many ways he was, but he didn't want to limit himself or label himself as just a bluegrass player. So I think that was already well in place before this year, that any kind of music works here. And because there's been every kind here over the last 25 years. Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton. Last year I got to sit in with Los Lobos, and last night Warren Haynes did a beautiful set. Last year Tedeschi Trucks. So it's not just bluegrass, but of course acoustic music is a large part of this, and the tradition of flat picking guitar, from Doc and Merle comes down through all the musicians that are here. So where it might go in the next 10 years, I can't really say that I could possibly know that. I just hope to still, get to be here.
Well, we hope you're here as well.
Well, I mean, but there's so many great musicians here that there's become certain traditions within the festival. So one of the things I enjoy getting to be on the Mandomania. Unfortunately for me this year, I just can't make the hillside in time to play with the Waybacks. That's I just had a nice long talk with James this morning. I just don't have time. I need to be organizing the jam set at that time. So, but we've yeah, tonight the Doc set, that's going to be special. Yes, ma'am.
What did Doc teach you?
What Doc taught me, honestly, was that, and it was a subtle way he did it, but he led by example. He didn't so much tell you what to do as it was just sort of obvious as you sat next to him. But he did say one thing to me once. He goes, "Son, you don't have to put every note you know in every song." And he was the king of taste and timing. And as you'd sit and play with Doc, I know me as the guy looking up to him as I always did, after Doc would play a solo, if you were next, if you played a rash of notes, it just didn't sound right. Doc taught me about taste and playing for that song. And some songs you can play more, you can step out more. But sometimes just a nice simple solo is what you need to do. And Doc was very he set the example on how to do that.
You've played on shows and played with, just about everybody in the business. Have you got a George Jones story? Did you ever do anything on any of his shows? I know probably not his albums, but did you ever on the same bill or anything?
Yes, on the same bill, and it was well, I'm going to be really kind and vague here. It was during a space where before George quit drinking. And so it was an odd night. Our band, Newgrass Revival, we had to play after George played, and it wasn't one of his finest moments. And so I don't want to speak ill of someone who's not here. I mean, it was at the time it was pretty funny, but he did the classic Grand Ole Opry thing of being a little bit too far gone to be on stage, and he stopped loving her today 3 times. And so it was, it wasn't the finest. So that was the only time I ever got to actually, be around and watch it. And it was right after that he did quit drinking and was the picture of sobriety the last 20 years of his life. So, and he still sang great, and I would get to one time when I was playing with Emmylou Harris, we were on the same show, and George was on it, and he was marvelous. And it was long after that, so he was still one of the best singers to his end that ever lived.
What is it like to be at MerleFest for the first time since Doc died?
Well, it's I miss him, and but if you've ever noticed, as I play on stage, and Merle was a really good friend of ours, and I always ask the audience, don't ever forget about Eddie Merle Watson. And so this year, without Doc and Rosalie, it's those of us that knew them and played together, it's a little emotional, and I don't know what emotions are going to happen during this jam tonight, because all of us are going to be sitting there. We always sat there and surrounded him, and it was a privileged position, and so it still is a privileged position to be on a jam like that, and because I think everyone here, we're all missing Doc.
Another legend that we just lost.
Got to meet Richie. Well, played on the same bill once in New York City. Richie Havens was on it, and I didn't realize, but Richie has a brother that they look almost exactly alike. And so it was right after the show, and I see a guy that I think is Richie Havens, and he's wearing a suit and tie. And Richie had been on stage in sort of the flowing robes and stuff that he always wore, and it was wonderful. Richie was wonderful, and but I walked up to the guy I thought was Richie Havens, and it was actually his brother. And I said, "Wow, you put a tie on after you play?" I'm not Richie.
How did it come about?
Thing.
Going back to the digital thing and all the new technology, even though you do find yourself on Facebook and you're like, sometimes, do you think that helps you, or do you like it? Do you tweet?
I've never tweeted. No, don't think I will. No, I mean we pay a marketing company to help us with just. I mean, what the thing I do like about digital technology is, like, in years past I'd be going to the post office with 100 postcards that you're mailing out to people about where you're going to play and stuff. Now, of course, you just put it on a piece of digital information, and that helps get the word out that you're playing somewhere. I think one of the things I do like about stuff like YouTube is that I can be sitting around and I got 10 minutes. I go, I'd like to see Bill Monroe play with Kenny Baker right now. Just dial it up, and there it is. Oh, let's hear the Cream. Dial that right up. So I like that part of it. I don't tend to turn on things that I've been part of, but I mean that's the cool part. You can see Hendrix at Monterey, bam, the Allman Brothers, Dwayne Allman. So that part I like that. So I enjoy that part of it. Seeing John Hartford on the Johnny Cash show, stuff like that. Seeing Derek and the Dominoes on the Johnny Cash show, that's cool. So I enjoy getting to see all that, and so that part of it I like. Some parts of it is like the modern day CB radio, where people just talk just to see their own words. It's not always fun. But I like the musical aspect of the immediate access to everything.
It was touching hearing Sam Bush tell stories about some of his friends who had passed. I hope you enjoyed and saw why I had to ask.